Well, hello there, motherfuckers. And today I thought we'd do something a little bit different. I'm going to give you my top 10 movies that everybody hates except for me. So this could either be that the critics really bashed this film into obscurity, or that, you know, fans or moviegoers really didn't enjoy it, but it was something that I enjoyed. Now, you may feel that some of these movies on this list are some of your favorites or movies that you enjoy, but this is going to be like the majority of people do not like these movies, either the critics or just the general audience. So guys, I hope you all enjoy this video and check it out. At number 10, to start off this list, what other movie could I choose besides Batman vs. Superman, which was a movie that I thought got a lot of unjustified hate. The Ben Affleck performance as Batman was just amazing. Many people will reference the Martha scene, and I still don't see like why that is such a horrible scene. Why, you know, they didn't form a connection. It was kind of supposed to be that, you know, the Batman and Superman are still human. Well, you know, Superman's not really a human. Well, you know what I mean? But I didn't really think that it got all this hate. There was good fight scenes. The performance, once again, of Ben Affleck is more than enough to put this movie into the memorable category. And if anything, the movie, was striking so many different emotions from fans. I don't see how people can't still say that this movie, you know, affected them in some way. Now, people will say that it's probably in a negative sense, but people found enough of it. You know, it didn't really seem like people thought it was boring. They just disagreed with the direction of the film. And, you know, I, for one, wasn't a big fan of how Doomsday looked, but I was just excited that we got some form of Doomsday in the movie. But I really didn't find myself too bothered. You know, growing up as a Batman and a Superman fan, I was just kind of happy with the concept. I thought that it was executed pretty well. Could it have been executed better? Yes, but then again, you could kind of think that almost every single superhero movie, had you been in the director's chair, that you could have probably done a better job. Now, it's not a matter of lowering standards or anything. Anyone knows that, you know, I'll just pretty much say my opinion here on this channel, say how I feel, despite how people feel. And this is probably why this is the perfect list for me. But this was a movie that I thought really, like my enjoyment was pretty high on it compared to everyone else that just seemed like it was a complete abomination. And, you know, you can just think of movies that you don't even remember, you know, that you said were complete abominations. But this was a movie that was sticking with people for a while, and they continuously reference it. So it's almost like people kind of secretly like it, but they don't want to admit that they do. Chronicles of Riddick. Now, I'm not a massive, huge Vin Diesel fan, and most people seem like it comes to the Chronicles of Riddick movies that most people would go with Pitch Black. I, for one, didn't enjoy Pitch Black. I thought it was really a really boring movie. Many people say that it is a concept, you know, that really gets the movie, you know, into a sense of horror. You know, the fact that they're trapped inside a spaceship for most of the movie and they're being terrorized. But it was really boring. The performances weren't exciting at all. See, there's big differences. You could say that the majority of Alien takes place on one spaceship, but you can't even see these creatures. It's just, to me, it was a very annoying film, Pitch Black. But Chronicles of Riddick really fleshed out the film and gave, you know, Riddick a personality. And I gotta say that I really enjoyed this film. I really liked the character Riddick. I like a lot of the scenery. I thought that there was some really good effects in this movie, and I was just pretty much enjoying it from start to finish. And I thought it had an interesting lore that has never been successfully fleshed out. There was a video game, Escape from Butcher Bay, which is an excellent game, by the way, and probably one of the most visually stunning games ever released for the Xbox. So, you know, this was a film that a lot of people had a lot of negative things to say about it. But for, you know, for all intents and purposes, it introduced a really interesting character. And, you know, like I said, I'm not even a big Vin Diesel fan, but I thought that he portrayed this character very well. And, you know, he made it his own. So, it's kind of sad that we don't really see a lot of Chronicles of Riddick films or any type of media surrounding that franchise, because I could see it being something big. Now, there was a very forgotten sequel that I didn't even see, but this was a really, you know, a pretty well-told sci-fi movie that, you know, was panned, and, you know, not a lot of people were very interested in it, and most people just say, well, Pitch Black was better. And I gotta say that, you know, these are really two different types of movies that were kind of hard to compare to one another, but the universe that this movie, you know, kind of put forth, it was something that I really found interesting and wanted to explore more. So it was like a good teaser, and it's a teaser that, you know, really doesn't seem like it's gonna lead to much over these many years. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. Now, I think most people know from my reaction on this channel when that movie was announced, when the first movie was announced in this series, I was not thrilled. I did not like the design of these turtles. I don't like the design of the turtles in this movie, but I have to say, it was a fun movie. I think it captured a little bit of the magic of the really amazing first two Ninja Turtle movies that were released in theaters. And the fact that we got to see Krang in this movie. I don't know if, you know, it's just cheap and I'm just fanboying, but I found that to be a really big movie event for me. And it was a pretty good movie. It was not boring. It was pretty exciting. I felt that it definitely had a lot of charm to it, which was helping it along. Now, if you think that I'm going to put it in the same league as the classic Ninja Turtle movies, you're fucking out of your mind. But I was really impressed with this sequel, and I thought that it did a lot better than the first film. And well, in the new Ninja Turtle series, let's keep that in mind as I'm you know, doing this part of the video here, this entry in the list. Out of the Shadows was a big surprise for me, and it was definitely a pleasant surprise for a big Ninja Turtles fan such as myself. Spawn. I keep coming back to this movie again and again when we talk about underrated superhero films. This film was like the first time that they really used CG in a superhero film, and it acted as a precursor to all the future, you know, CG superhero movies or any movie that implemented any type of CG into it, and it was really well done. The effects on Spawn's cape, John Leguizamo's performance as Clown in The Violator were spot on. And and when they showed you the scenes of hell, I mean, Spawn was definitely something that we hadn't seen at this time. And it was a real treat. It showed us what a superhero movie could be as we headed into the future. And there's a lot of things that Spawn does right that we don't see from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It took chances. It was not afraid to be a little bit brash and a little bit out there. And I think that it really used the Spawn license well. It felt gritty. It felt dark. There was, you know, many touches of humor, as I mentioned, with John Leguizamo. And really stunning visuals for the time. And I think that a lot of the CG, it does still hold up. It's pretty good for some pretty early CG. So if you haven't seen this movie, I really recommend it. But at the time, you know, many people were not thrilled with this. You know, superhero movies, like I've mentioned in the past, before they were taken over by Disney as far as Marvel goes, you know, there were a lot of negative reviews surrounding a lot of superhero movies. Critics didn't get it. I think this is one that a lot of fans still do enjoy. I'm not really too sure how much because it's not really talked about anymore. But for me, this was a great movie and a great movie-going experience. And I was pretty young when I saw this in theaters. But I was a big Spawn fan, and I was pleasantly surprised. And even going back and watching this movie as an adult, I am still surprised at how much I still like it. You know, but it tells a good story. It does a good job with the Spawn franchise. And that's pretty much all you could really ask for. Spider-Man 3. Now, I know a lot of people think that I'm crazy for this, but I actually am a big Spider-Man 3 fan. Now, is it a giant step below Spider-Man 1 and 2 in the Sam Raimi trilogy? Oh, you bet your ass it is. Spider-Man 2 is my favorite superhero movie of all time, but 3 really isn't a bad follow-up. Is it a disappointing follow-up? Yes, it is, from a certain standpoint. But there still is a lot of good character development. It does continue the story in a pretty effective way. Were there too many villains? Yes, they should have probably followed the same formula as Spider-Man 1 and 2 and just have one villain, such as in 1 with the Green Goblin and 2 as with Dr. Octopus. But they decide for some reason, let's put Sandman and Venom together. Now, this was a very confusing choice because you would think with Venom, he would definitely deserve his own movie. But this was just a weird mix. I don't know why they didn't put Sandman and Hydro Man together. But, you know, Thomas Hayden Church, it does have a lot of great character development here. They developed the story between Peter Parker and Mary Jane pretty effectively. It's just when it comes to Topher Grace's Venom, I don't know why they picked him. Now, this casting would be rectified many, many years later with Tom Hardy being cast as Eddie Brock as Venom. But, you know, when it comes to this movie, I don't know. It's not like it's a bad performance. It's not like Topher Grace is a bad actor. He just wasn't cut out to be Venom. And that does mar the film in a sense. But the movie has a great sense of humor. A lot of people always knock the scenes where, you know, the symbiote is making Peter act a little bit wacky. But, you know, once again, you have to say that this is a pretty good performance from Tobey Maguire. I mean, you know, he takes the ball and he runs with it, and he's pretty hilarious. You know, a lot of people wanted to probably see a more serious tone, but that's not to say that these movies didn't have comedy in the past. But does anybody remember when Peter is sitting in J. Jonah's seat with his feet up on the desk? That is probably one of the most hilarious scenes from the whole trilogy. So I'm sorry, but I love this film. Back to the Future, Part 3. Now, I think a lot of people have eased up on this movie over the years. I think it's a very good finale. I think what people didn't like about it was a very big departure when you think about it. Back to the Future, Part 1. You've got this, you know, this amazing concept that's given to us. An amazing story, a very original, innovative storyline. It's a franchise being birthed that would be remembered for decades to come. And then Part 2 comes along and they build on it. You know, it's really so unique that in Part 2, you see like parts of the first movie, but from the perspective of the characters, and then they change the events of the first movie. It's amazing. And then in the third movie, there's not a lot of time travel going on. You know, pretty much Marty goes back to 1885. It's the Old West. And then you don't see any time travel until the end of the movie. So, you know, there's only 3 movies. But when you think about it, 3 is way different than parts 1 and 2. And that's what's great about it. And it not only is it great as a Western, not only is it great as a comedy, but it's a great finale as the DeLorean is smashed to bits by a train at the end of the movie, completely closing the door on the trilogy. It's very effective. And like I said, you know, I really would love to see another Back to the Future movie. I think I'm a lot more open-minded than a lot of fans. Oh, they're going to fuck it up. That may be true. And there are certain copyrights and trademarks in place right now where I believe it's Bob Gale is making sure that this movie is like not remade and it's not rebooted and there's no sequels, and I can respect that. It's a trilogy that's come to an end and they want it to stay ended, and I could really respect that, and I think they did a really good job ending it, and it's still probably one of the best franchises of all time. Jurassic Park 3. Now, I know that a lot of people will hate me for this, but this movie is better than The Lost World. Now, Lost World, Jurassic Park is a movie that had me very conflicted. It took me multiple viewings to enjoy Lost World. Now, Lost World is pretty hokey. There's some eye-rolling scenes, moments, and lines of dialogue in it. But for the most part, the finale kind of makes the trip all worth it. But in 3, it was back to basics. Now, it's a little bit different. There's a much different tone in the movie. It gets silly at times. But Dr. Grant coming back is just such a treat. Because that was probably one of the things that marred the second movie for me when it came to Lost World, is the fact that where's Dr. Grant? I mean, seriously, one of the most likable characters, the main character of the first movie, totally missing from the second movie. And to see him back is just amazing. And, you know, I think that what a lot of people have problems with this movie is the dream sequence with the raptor and the plane as they're headed to the island. I think that that's funny. I'm saying I think people take things a little too seriously. They don't want the directors to, and producers and screenwriters to have a little bit of fun with the movie, and try some different things. But I'm always open to that. As long as the movie entertains me in a certain way, it's okay if they take certain liberties. I mean, what is the problem with having a joke or two in a movie? It's not like, they gave Dr. Grant a big clown nose or something like that. I think it's a very entertaining movie. I think there's a good usage of CGI. And first of all, we need to remember is it's going to be extremely, extremely hard for them to ever top the first Jurassic Park movie, simply due to the fact that, as a lot of people like to say, the wow factor, the excitement of seeing the dinosaurs for the first time, and it just felt like a huge, massive event. But I think that they did a pretty decent job here trying to follow it up. Even if it is very far below the bar of the first movie, but so is Lost World. The Last Jedi. Now, this is a movie that a lot of people really, really hated. And I think that there's a lot of people who are second-guessing themselves when it comes to The Force Awakens. But it was a pretty dark time for Star Wars fans in 2017 as they pretty much bashed the shit out of The Last Jedi. And I was super surprised at this. I did not understand the hate. I was sitting there scratching my head trying to say, like, I love this movie. As the credits rolled, I loved the movie. I sat back and I said, what was it that people did not like about it? And I saw the movie a second time. I saw the movie a third time. And I only found myself liking it more and more. And I was looking for flaws. And I saw what people were saying. And I just disagree. I did not really find, like, people know me on this channel that I have a massive sense of humor. I joke about a lot of different things. But I did not find what was so silly about Princess Leia, you know, using the Force to bring herself back to the ship. You know, the fact that the, you know, what's her name, used the ship to, you know, to fly into the Star Destroyer. I didn't really have a big problem with any of those things. It didn't really destroy my movie-going experience. And I think there was a lot of nitpicking that went on here. A lot of nitpicking. A lot of people just picking up little scenes here and there. Now, you know, there was the casino scene that a lot of people had a big problem with. Now, that I could start to see. I could see why more people probably wanted to see more of Rey and Luke. But I think what we got to see of Rey and Luke was very fulfilling. Humorous, informative. You know, we got to see, you know, two actors from the past and the present of Star Wars come together. And, you know, I was happy with it. I really was. I could see where people might have problems with certain things. You know, they had never seen Princess Leia use the Force before. She all of a sudden started using it. And, you know, I just was a little bit confused at how this movie got so much hate. Like, I understand if you want to criticize it, like, oh, it was good, but I had a problem with this and that. But there was, like, hate, like, angst. Like, how dare they make certain mistakes? How dare they do certain things with the movie that I don't agree with? And, you know, it's okay to criticize a movie, but the full-on hatred for this movie, I just still don't understand it to this day. Indiana Jones and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Now, guys, I'm fresh off watching this movie from the other day, and I fucking love it. I mean, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. This is a movie with a huge gap. I mean, we're talking about a 20-year gap, almost like a 20-year gap between the films. And I'm sitting there watching this movie in the theaters, saying to myself, okay, I'm not seeing where people are not seeing an amazing fucking movie here. Because, first of all, I think they had a lot of fun with Indy and his age. And they didn't, like, rub it in your face, like, oh, he's an old guy now and everything. And Shia LaBeouf, great performance. Before the dude went nuts, he was putting together some great movies. I like his personality. I like that they chose him as Indy's son. And there was just a lot of clever moments in this movie. Great humor. It felt like it belonged in the Indiana Jones franchise. And I do like it more than Temple of Doom. Thank you very much. And at number 1, well, before we get to number 1, let's do an honorable mention. Venom. Now, this movie, I saw it again, so now I've seen it twice. I had to mention this movie on the list because Venom is a really different type of superhero movie. First of all, he's an anti-hero. And I think they had a lot of fun with this movie. There's a lot of humorous scenes. A great performance from Tom Hardy here. I mean, really like pouring his heart into this role. Really making it entertaining. Really having a lot of fun with the character. Really good effects. A good final fight scene. And I gotta say, I really enjoyed it, but a lot of people didn't. You know, I don't get where, like, Spider-Man had to be in this movie. Like, it's okay that Venom has comics on his own, that he has solo stories, that he has his own comic series. But for some reason, you know, all of us, oh, it's got to have Spider-Man in it, or I don't like it. Whatever happened to, oh, read the comics? Isn't that what everyone always says? That Venom has to be in a movie that also has Spider-Man in it all of a sudden. Like, he can't just be in his own movie. But I really enjoyed it. Going back and watching it for a second time, I think I enjoyed it even more. And finally, number 1, the Star Wars prequels. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been very vocal about this on this channel, and you probably even knew this was coming when you saw that The Last Jedi was at number 3. The prequels. The other day, I was just watching Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. And I was watching the Camino scene, you know, where Obi-Wan Kenobi checks out the clone army, meets Jango Fett, and then they have this amazing battle on the platform. And you see, you know, where the Slave One is there, and then Jango Fett's about to go into it, and they engage in this amazing fight scene. It's raining, you know, Jango Fett's jetpack goes flying, explodes, they go sliding down the platform. I'm like, these movies, they look amazing. They are amazing. And Ewan McGregor's performance in all 3 movies is great. And we had Liam Neeson in the first one. And Hayden Christensen. I don't know. You know, there was a lot of knocks against him, but you see him in the 3rd movie, and what a performance. He looks evil, he looks like Darth Vader, he looks like a Sith, and all the worlds that they created, you know, the pod races, you know, Camino I just mentioned, Naboo. I mean, you look at all these set pieces, there's great action. Now, it might not be as great as the original trilogy, as you're remembering that you grew up with. But this, to me, when I saw these movies, I was 11 years old. And I was going to be 12 later on that year. And this movie had a big impression of me. I had already been a big Star Wars fan, because I had gone to see the movie with my father and uncle. And already big Star Wars fans in 1997 when they re-released A New Hope as the special edition in theaters to hype everybody up for episode 1. And I became a huge, massive Star Wars fan. And then when this movie came around, I mean, my love was just cemented. And I still look at episode 1 and I see it as really just, you know, a love letter to Star Wars fans of the original trilogy. I think they had a lot of fun with the movie. They tried different things that, you know, certain people didn't like. I think people wanted a direct continuation. They missed Mark Hamill. They missed Harrison Ford. They missed Carrie Fisher. And they wanted to see a return to form, but only in the form that they wanted. And that's really depressing. I mean, the musical score. John Williams is just so spot on. It very, very, very well may be a better soundtrack than any of the original trilogy films. And I might be going out on a limb, but I've seen some people actually admit that Duel of the Fates is so amazing. And, you know, you look at that scene as Qui-Gon, Jar Jar Binks, and Obi-Wan Kenobi are swimming towards Otogunga. And you just see this amazing underwater city that looks like Atlantis. How are you not loving this movie? And I know, who I just mentioned is the reason why you don't like the movie, Jar Jar Binks. But when you really add up all of the scenes where Jar Jar Binks is acting like a total fucking goofball, how many minutes do you really get? Do you even get 10 minutes of Jar Jar? They make like he's through the whole movie. You know, like he completely like ruined everything. Like he pops up during the Darth Maul battle. No, they keep him there. He's a side character. He's not even in most of the movie. You know, and it's like, guys, come on. Let's be honest. Coming up with ideas. Oh, look what a sophisticated Star Wars fan I am. Ah, come on. I mean, that's total fucking nonsense already. You know, just like admit that, okay, you didn't like one part of the movie. One small little part that you could have done without. I understand it. You know, you want to critique it and everything like that. But to go, you know, and just totally hate the movie because of one small little thing is just totally fucking nuts. And I've been saying this for fucking years. Star Wars Episode 1, 2, and 3 are great movies. And you remember them. Do you remember any of the fucking movies that won Oscars the past few years? No, you don't. No, you don't at all. You don't even remember. What won the Oscar in the 2015 year. You know, do you remember when Best Picture? No, you don't. But you do remember episode 1, 2, and 3, and even if you remember them because you hate them, you still remember them. They're memorable, and that's what matters. There was something about those movies that stood out in your mind, and as long as you remember a film, that means that it was worth remembering for some reason. Isn't that true? Now, I know you see that I might be trying to use some kind of crazy psychology on you, but it's true. If you remember it, that means that it had a profound effect on you. And I know that these prequels definitely had a profound effect on me. And guys, I hope you all enjoyed the list. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. And guys, please subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell so you get all the notifications when I post all my new videos. And guys, I will see you next time.